Welcome to another episode of Bragg Business, proudly brought to you by Cowboy Trail Brewery. Cheers to the West. Episode 3 features Adrian Turner of Peak Ambition. Peak Ambition is a local small business focusing on introducing youth to a wide variety of sports through community recreation services, with a view to developing skills that are applicable to all sport, such as discipline, self-confidence, passion, and respect. All traits parents want to instill in their children. Adrian is super cool. His passion for developing the skills of young people through sport is contagious. I'll let him tell the story, but what he has created with Peak Ambition here in Bragg Creek is a tremendous benefit to the community. What's even cooler is Peak Ambition is family run, with Adrian's wife and sons participating in the business too. Enjoy! This week, Adrian Turner of Peak Ambition, based out of Bragg Creek, Alberta. Adrian had a long rugby playing career in the UK, followed by 20 years of coaching both in England and Alberta, including being a founding member and former president of Bow Valley Rugby Club in Cochrane, Alberta. Adrian has coached senior and junior rugby in Alberta for 17 years, including provincial representation and assisting Bow Valley's inception and development through to becoming established Alberta Cup regulars. Adrian also has World Rugby accredited level 2 coaching qualifications and is continually undertaking professional development. Adrian, welcome to Bragg Business.
Well, thank you very much, Greg. First, I want to apologise for my broad English accent.
I recognize that. Is that West Bragg Creek accent? What is that?
It's Canadian through and through.
Right on. First question.
Okay.
Do you believe in Bigfoot?
Well, you know what? It's something that I never, ever thought of until I got to Bragg Creek. And you are probably the third or fourth person that has brought up that conversation or that topic. And some very, very trustworthy people who really believe in it.
Is that right?
Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of on the edge now. I'm thinking that there must be something in this.
Could be.
Yeah. No?
I noticed one thing. The grainy videos are getting better.
Yeah. Well, obviously in the UK we have, or up in Scotland, we have Loch Ness.
That's right.
And I know really for the tourism trade, they never want to find him because they've got to keep selling that dream.
That's right.
Maybe one day that fisherman may come up and find him.
Like Ogopogo in
Yeah.
BC. Right, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm joking. I just asked that question off the start just to loosen everybody up. So, Peak Ambition.
Yes.
Please give us a little background on how you started it.
Okay, I dabbled with the summer camp idea for many years through Bow Valley, actually. And I'd always come back to using some of the facilities in Bragg Creek, namely Curtis Field at Redwood Meadows, because the concept of Bow Valley was it was a club not just based on the idea of being in Cochrane, but servicing the wider communities, even as far as Canmore. So the idea of the summer camps, I did it for 2 summers, and we had some of our young rugby players coming out for a week. And we learnt, and as coaches, girls rugby at the time wasn't really that popular, although we did have a few girls come out who could look after themselves and put the boys back in their place.
Nice.
We'd break the day up, morning session for 2 hours, a good lunch, with some presentations from some interesting characters from the local rugby community, and then get back into it on the afternoon and always finish off with a real fun activity. So the idea had always been there. And then if we go into other layers, my son and I, my youngest son, Cameron, we did a coach player development trip out in the French Alps. Wow. 2017. And this was when it was really starting to burn a hole in the back of my head, really, as in this is an idea that maybe we should look into a bit more. Because when we landed and we got ourselves settled, the coaches set me up with a coach development week, and I was working with ex-professional players and professional coaches, rugby development officers for World Rugby, and had some hands-on experience with those guys. And then Cameron was working with the coaches as a young player and having the coaching experience with those guys, player development. And then towards the end of the week, the guys obviously were expecting a Canadian to turn up, and they heard Cameron and I speaking with a very broad English accents, and they were a little bit disappointed, I think, because I think they'd already thought about the idea of these Canadians coming over.
Right.
The news of their camp, and it was called PSA, Philippe Saint-André's Academy. He's a famous a French rugby player and obviously now a famous coach. So they were obviously thinking maybe we'd talk to these guys and see what the opportunity was to get over into Canada, and especially this part of Canada, the Rocky Mountains, being very close to Banff.
Right.
Obviously Calgary, all that kind of stuff. So we still had the conversation, and they wondered whether I could act as an agent for them. And at the time, when I got back to Canada, I was actually a contractor, and I was doing a lot of work out in Banff and Canmore anyway. I was a tiling contractor. I worked for a small company out in based in Canmore. And we serviced the bespoke housing markets for Canmore, and then the hotel, one of the big hotel chains, the Caribou Properties, their hotels, doing maintenance work and renovation work. And so I kind of had some good people to speak to about a potential accommodation. Would this be a possibility? Knowing how hard it is for anything to get going in Banff. So we had a lot of conversations, and I met with different people from the hotel chain. The one lady, she was in charge of selling the beds for the hotels. And then after each conversation, I fed back to the guys back in France. And the business, the guys involved with the business are based in France, Ireland and England. And so it was a conversation that was ongoing. And then, we were getting closer and closer to COVID. Unfortunately, the lady I was speaking to regarding the accommodation, because the idea was to do camps where the young players and coaches would come and have accommodation and be based potentially in Banff for the week.
Right.
And unfortunately, one of the ladies I was having conversations with, she became very ill. Oh. So we kind of killed the conversation, and out of respect, I just dropped it.
For sure. Yeah, understandable.
And so, again, that left this idea, well, we're not in Banff, but we're in Bragg Creek. And Bragg Creek has a unique selling point, and it's probably a lot more affordable than Banff.
Absolutely.
And then again, just before COVID, there was a few community members who were starting to talk about getting some of our local sporting, organising our sport for the kids in a much, just more organisation basically. And so then that started to resonate again, and the idea started to go round and round. And then eventually through COVID, a friend and I, Richard Smith, who was an ex-professional rugby player, we came up with this concept of Peak Ambition, and we worked on the ideas through COVID, hoping that one day we'd come out of this madness. And
right. Good time to put pen to paper.
Yeah.
That time on your hands.
And then as soon as we started to come out of that, the social distancing started to decrease. Then we started to set in place some community programs, and those community programs we still do. So it's all voluntary, going to Bandit Peak School, working with the RMCA, playing a part in spring sports. And then eventually an opportunity arose through the BCCA to actually get the summer camps going in its true form for a full 2 months run.
Right.
And that's where we are today, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic program. I think you identified a really good niche.
Well, thank you.
In the market, because, in the summertime for parents.
Yeah.
They want to put their kids into something beyond a daycare program, something that's actually going to develop some skills.
Yeah.
Peak Ambition, fulfills that mandate.
Well, that's very kind. There's a lot of thought that's gone into it. Even, we appreciate that we're going to have a percentage of kids who are coming out because they need babysitting. Yeah. And we were also hoping we're going to
I think that's why my wife and I put our son in.
Yeah. And it's not a problem because, they're going to spend the day with us, and we're hoping that we're going to enthuse them in a lot of different ways. And then you got the other portion of the kids who are here because they're already active and they want to stay active and have that interaction with their buddies. And so we do the sport. And I think the misconception in the early days was, my child doesn't particularly enjoy sport. Well, we're just encouraging engagement, communication, getting kids off cell phones, learning to be active. And then throughout the week, we do some very simple things where we're trying to encourage the kids to slow down, live in the moment. So we're trying to encourage the kids to take part, learn the benefits of being active, learn to fall in love with it, with activity. I do believe the camp and the ethos or the philosophy has been born out of some good life experiences from myself. My partner, Richard Smith, aka Jimmy, he comes at things from a professional perspective, and sport's given him a career that he's really benefited from.
Yeah, absolutely.
into going in. Richard has moved back to the UK, so he's now, we're changing the partnership, but Richard still does the accounts. He tells me what I can spend and merchandise and things like that. He's a very shrewd guy when it comes to business. So my oldest son, Connor, who works for Rugby Canada as we speak, he's now going to be my partner. And I'm hoping, long term, if there's a future beyond the next few years, it's something that Connor could have as a seasonal thing. And
family business.
Yeah, he brings real-time experience working with elite athletes. Now, again, we're talking of a kids camp.
Sure.
But
yeah,
when you break it down and getting kids to start with the basics and start well, being instructed well on, whatever the chosen sport may be on that given day, the thoughts and the ideas are coming from people with real-time experience. And we follow, through the NCCP coaching organisation, we follow the long-term athlete development model. We're making sure that kids of a certain age can catch, skip, jump, run.
Basics, fundamentals.
Yeah, cognitive. And it's the kind of thing that when we were growing up, we probably took for granted.
Totally.
We were just outside playing, wasn't we?
That's right. Exactly.
So, and that seems to be it's kind of gone around in full circle. So,
and that's what I appreciate about Peak Ambition too, is you're not only teaching the fundamentals of sport, exposing kids to different kinds of games and sports, but I mean, you're also teaching things like teamwork.
Yeah.
And self-respect and camaraderie and ambition.
Yeah. The other reason for Peak Ambition, we've hosted numerous schools and teams that have been touring through Alberta. There's a general circuit that, say, an English school, a British school would, when they fly over, they come to Calgary, play a couple of games, do a trip to Banff, have some outdoor activities, some fun there, and maybe then do a drive up to Edmonton, play some games there, and then come back to Calgary, fly back home. So we've kind of got into that, put ourselves out there as an organisation that could host a team for 2 days, give them a different experience by bringing them into Bragg Creek. We've partnered with a lot of local businesses, Maritz of Outbound Elements and Handlebar, the coffee shop and cafe. Well, it's more than that. It's a restaurant bar, isn't it?
Sure.
Maritz is awesome with our adventure stuff. So when we do our sport or we facilitate a training day for one of these teams, we're always coupled with Maritz, who provides an adventure experience. And it's proven very successful. Taking the guys down to the river, getting them to cross the river where it's shallow, how to do it safely. And the guys absolutely love it because they're coming from, like maybe London.
Right. They've never, they're not crossing the Thames.
No. That's part of our journey. We came here and we fell in love with it. And it was,
of course,
wow.
Yeah.
So we're trying to pass on a bit of that love. And then we have other businesses like Rockies, Ben and Emma, they've always fed the young guys and girls coming through. And we've made some very, very interesting partnerships and
that's awesome.
Friendships, really.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the business community here. It's pretty tight knit.
Totally.
Yeah,
totally.
So you're serving not only locals, then you're also serving an international community by bringing people to this part of Alberta. Yeah,
well, again, pre-COVID and during my time as president of Bow Valley, I got involved with a travel company based in the UK. And again, it was conversations that led to another conversation.
Sure.
When they realised that I would set up games for their players, which is what they were looking for, but I would actively go out and organise everything. Then that first tour led to another one, then another one, and then we'd use the same formats. We play the games in Cochrane, then we come back to Bragg Creek, get them fed, take them to the river, and then all these other ideas of adventure. This is where
exposing them everything we have to offer here.
Yeah, and the common thread was always wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
That's fantastic. You're waving the flag for Bragg Creek.
Yeah. So, and to be quite honest with you, I joined the chamber this year because really I was kind of under the radar, and that's the way I always wanted to be. As soon as you start raising your head above the parapet, you get people maybe taking shots at you. I don't know, but maybe it's a worthwhile story to share because 2 years ago there was over 2 weekends. Probably 140 young athletes came into Bragg Creek.
Oh, holy smokes.
And then we had them, I got them organised with breakfast. You'd use Curtis Field for the training day. They'd go in the river for their recovery session. Then the following day, it was an adventure day with outbound elements.
Nice.
I think the guys and girls got a lot from it. So
That's great.
So that's kind of where we've taken things.
Excellent. Well, you've come to be a real staple in the community now, I think.
Well, I appreciate it.
The word is out.
Thank you. And you know what? It's this will be the third summer of the July-August camps, and I'm just looking at steady growth. I always shared with the BCCA leadership that my aim was to always get the camps far-reaching or further-reaching in terms of highlighting it to different communities. So last year we had a few kids coming out from Calgary. We've had a few coming out from Cochrane, more last year. So again, if every year that we're in existence, we can get another 20 kids and 20 again. We're always mindful that there's a limit to how far we go, because the coach to player or / kid the ratio is really important.
So. Fantastic. So because you have older kids that work along with you in your summer camps too, correct?
Yeah. So the model basically, thanks to the BCCA, is they will secure grants, and those grants are what we pay young coaches with. Now I term them as coaches. Through the grant process, they're termed camp facilitators, camp coordinators, that kind of thing. But for me, they are coaches. Generally speaking, these are young people that I've had first-hand experience with in actually coaching them myself and building up quite a relationship in terms of a friendship, basically. Yeah. So the coaches that we've had so far, and before I jump onto that, I am trying to enthuse and give these young people an opportunity as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm encouraging them to follow through with keeping a log of a detailed account of their coaching experience. And so when majority of the boys and girls have come from a rugby background, but again, multi-sport, winter sports as well, hockey and what have you. But my time spent with them has been through Bow Valley Rugby Club, and through the coaching process. When you actually do your first formal coaching accreditation, you then get a locker number for the NCCP Coach Association. Once you're in that locker and you've got that, then you can start updating your personal profile. And the aim is coach educators are watching the individuals grow and how up to date they are in terms of first aid, what coaching have they gone out and done, what coaching courses have they gone to. And so with what we're doing with these young people, if they follow that process, well, when they get to, say, the age of 18, graduation, and they move on to their years where they're trying to find their way in the world. I know from first-hand experience, my two boys have benefited from coaching from a very young age, and having that coach accreditation has given them the chance to travel overseas, work in schools where they get the opportunity to work as gap tutors, and it's all been based on the fact that they had the confidence and they had the qualifications. So when they've applied for these positions overseas, it's been, yes, we'll take you on.
They got the qualifications.
Yeah. And that's what I'm, again, trying to pass on to these young coaches.
So, no, that's good. I mean, you're really providing a foundation for them for life.
Yeah.
Not only in their personal life, but also for their occupation, whatever that might choose to be.
Yeah. And let's be honest, not many people get the chance to make a living out of professional sports. And, but if it's something that's just going to grow confidence and grow an interesting background, then that's more all you can ask for, isn't it?
Absolutely. Really? Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about you.
Okay.
So how did you end up in Bragg Creek? I mean, you grew up in England. Where in England did you grow up?
Yeah. So at the start of the interview, I apologise for my accent. So we're from a region known as the Black Country. The argument would be, as we're from a city called Wolverhampton, Black Country, and to be known as a Black Country person, it carries quite a lot of kudos.
Is that right?
And some people would argue that we're just on the outskirts of that true Black Country heritage.
Okay.
But so we're from Wolverhampton.
And in relation to London, everybody kind of knows where London is.
Yeah, so we're northwest from London. So if you looked at the map of the British Isles, if we drove west, we would be in Wales. We'd be in mid Wales.
Gotcha.
And one of our weekend retreats was North Wales, which is where we have Snowdonia and we have a beautiful coastline.
Yes.
So this idea of being in the outdoors, in the nature, as maybe the Scandinavians would say, was something that was, again, but peak ambition, like summer camps, was burning a hole in my head. And I bugged my wife to bits about the possibility of, what do you think we could do? Would you be keen? And she was keen on being active, and she's always been very fit. But I think at times I've kind of dragged her along a little bit, and she's kind of given me a nudge every now and again to say, come on, calm down, calm down. So we found Bragg Creek through friends of ours who moved out here. Probably, we've been here 17 years. They're getting on for over 25 years now. So we were skiers. Our boys were brought up going to France and the French Alps and going to the coastline in North Wales and that. So they were very used to, they were the different kids on the street. They were probably very lucky in a lot of ways with the trips that we did. I'd worked many hours to give us the luxury of doing that.
Dad.
A lot of weekends and things. I was a tradesman. Yeah, if you're prepared to work, the money was there to be earned. Long story short, friends moved to Bragg Creek. They'd been on a hunt for the longest time to try and find that sweet spot where they could call home. And my friend had been in the British Army, so he was used to Canmore. He'd spent a lot of years in Canmore as an outdoor educator with the British Army, trailing camp north of Cochrane. So he'd done all that circuit. And when he left the army, he knew he wanted to come back to Canada. Anyway, they eventually found Bragg Creek after many years. We kept in touch. We'd travelled to Banff before. So we'd seen the Rocky Mountains for what they were. We'd skied in Banff, Lake Louise, Sunshine, done all of that. And then the one year, our friends, they'd settled. They were very content, and they were living in this place called Bragg Creek. And they were actually living in West Bragg Creek, Forestry Way. So they invited us out the one summer. Our boys would have been 3 and 8. And I can remember my wife and I talking on the way to the airport, and we were both talking and we were saying, right, wanderlust that we may have had is gone. We're a little bit older now. So we agreed that we're settled. And when we come back off this trip, we're going to have a great trip, meet our friends, enjoy everything there is to be see and done in Bragg Creek, and going back to Banff. And we both agreed, we're settled. So we're going to go out, come back, and all good. Yeah. Within 2 days, we were in their house. Bragg Creek got under our skin.
You fell in love. You fell in love.
Wow.
Right?
We just remember being in their basement, the window being open, the smell, the trees, the blue sky. I mean, it was an incredibly good summer that year. Seeing the deer just on their back lawn.
It's fantastic. It is.
2 days, we looked at each other, and it was, we get back, we'll look at our paperwork and see what the options are. It took a while because we landed as permanent residents. It took a while to get all that paperwork in place because the world economy changed quite a bit at the time. And then
this would have been going back into 2007, 2008, something like that?
And then we eventually moved 2009.
Oh, yeah. So right after the Great Recession.
Yeah.
Right after fall of it.
Yeah. And I was a contractor in the UK, just on the cusp of starting to do really well and seeing the fruits of my labour. And then all of the contractors were sent letters from the building companies, from the management, and saying that you all need to take a 25% hit on your prices. Personally, for where I was, I couldn't afford to do that. So then give or take about 6 months from that letter coming through the door, paperwork started to come through the door from the Canadian immigration, and
things are lining up for you.
And it was, okay, what we're doing? Are we going? Because this looks like this door's closed. We're going to have a tough time. We've got nothing to lose. Yeah, we asked for a little bit of divine intervention. There's some grandparents that were not too enamored with our move.
I'm sure, taking away the grandchildren.
Yeah.
And over well.
I was, my father-in-law was not best pleased with me for a while. And then, we followed through with our dream, and we landed, and our plan. We rented in Cochrane for 6 months, and we gave ourselves a 2-year window to see whether we could actually find the place in Bragg Creek. We were renting a small acreage on Cochrane Lake Road.
Nice.
Just northwest of Cochrane. Yeah. I mean, we had fantastic mountain views, but boy, was it windy.
It's super windy.
Oh, wow. And we'd found this house in the hamlet, and it was a complete renovation.
As most are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as we script it back, you see the weird and wonderful ways that have been used, and the MacGyvering that's been done.
Oh my!
But we're very fortunate. We bought a solid home. It never flooded. The basement had never flooded.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, we're very, very fortunate, and then the rest is history. But the downside is our boys have left town. So
right now you got all the space. Maybe you'll be a billet for some rugby players.
Well, we've done that. We've billeted for many years because our boys benefited from the same,
from
the same thing
yes.
as well. And we started. So Peak Ambition has a few other layers as well. We, my wife and I, we look after the cleaning of the main mall.
Okay. Yep.
That was something that it was my son's summer job, and he left to go back to the UK, and then I had a conversation with the company who owned the mall to see if they were looking for somebody else to take it on. So they said, yeah, if you want to do it, go at it. And that's what we do. And we do it because we care about the community, and we care about the fact that if somebody comes and stays with us and we send them into the hamlet, then we got confidence that it's going to look as good as it can look.
Absolutely. You'll be proud of that.
So, so again, the Peak Ambition logo, it covers the coaching business and Airbnb, and then obviously our cleanup.
All right. So Airbnb too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We started that. So going back into another story, I had some serious health issues, and I had issues with my eyesight, which I went through quite a scary time. That was just after COVID.
Right? Oh, wow.
So we this idea of Peak Ambition was born. We were pushing on with it. And then I had a warning from my optometrist that there's something you need to be mindful of, and we're going to make you an appointment for the eye hospital on. I have an incredible doctor called Dr. Fielden. Long story short, we had the warning, and then I bent down one morning, and everything just went grey.
Oh no!
And
it must have been frightening.
It was the worst. Panic attacks, you name it.
Oh my goodness!
And I had to try and stay calm for my wife's sake, and just see how we can negotiate our way through this. And that's how the Airbnb. We had no choice. I lost all my work in Banff and Canmore. Wasn't too sure on what future Peak Ambition had at that point. And then luckily over the period of about 12 months and having intensive treatment, that treatment started to work, and day by day, week by week, I started to see a little bit more. And generally my wife's features, and I'd look in the mirror and I'd start seeing more of my features. I'd come down to the hamlet and I'd start picking up a bit of detail on some of the signs. And then I didn't want to get too excited, but I wondered, is it coming together again? Get a second bite of the cherry, so to speak.
That had to have been exciting.
Yeah, it was.
And a huge relief.
Yeah, it was incredible. And again, I suppose now that the camps are moving in the right direction, again, these are the kind of life experiences, not to suggest I'm going to, scare kids or anything like that, but it's about making the best of everything that you have.
Appreciate what you have.
Yeah. And if there's any kids or parents out there and they've got kids with certain needs, if we can accommodate that, this is not about being elitist in any way, shape or form. It's about giving kids an opportunity. And on that, we are trying to grow a teenager camp as well. And again, based on the same format, that if kids have challenges, we've got a young lady who's just qualified as a psychologist. So we in terms of sitting down and talking with teenagers, what kind of things could you pass on? And we're talking about strategies for life. So on any given day, we can all wake up and our day feels like it's going to go sideways.
Yes.
And it's how to negotiate a busy day and maybe a stressful day, and how you prioritize, maybe how you use social media, how maybe when it's not appropriate to use that. And that's the kind of thing that we're trying to pass on. As well as that, the adventure piece, and then sharing like a multi-sport day based around sports conditioning. Coaches who are ex-players. One young man's an ex-professional rugby player. The other young man who was the head coach last year for the camps, he's an ex Calgary Colt, and also an up-and-coming strength and conditioning coach. And then there's also my older son, Connor, who again, is a strength and conditioning coach. We're just trying to pass on good habits, share ideas around different sports, how different ideas from different sports can cross over. So, for instance, if you looked at rugby, lacrosse, basketball, hockey, what defense could look like, how you could share ideas, how attack would come into effect in different sports.
And how to communicate that
Yeah, totally. And
amongst each other. Yeah.
That's where we're trying to go. So,
Interesting.
some elite people, but it's not leading to necessarily an elite camp.
Right.
It's just about inclusivity and sharing and hopefully good messages. Yeah, I suppose the growth is more on the feedback that we're getting from parents. And the other area we see it in is through the spring sports program with the RMCA based in Cochrane, or based out of Cochrane. Now, I'm not suggesting that Peak Ambition has had a real input in increased numbers there, but we've continued to been working in the background, offering support, offering free coaching or volunteer coaching. And from my experience, I've coached forever. I've always learned, the big lesson I've learned in coaching is being consistent. And that consistency is based around just turning up, following through with what you say you're going to do. Don't be flaky. Those are some big life lessons I've passed on to my two sons. And that's the kind of messaging with any of the coaching I've done personally. Doesn't matter who turns up, we're still going to coach. And then based on that, you see another kid turn up the following week, then parents start to buy into the fact, well, this is consistent. This is not something that's just going to die away. People are going to actually follow through. If it's an 8-week program, they're going to follow through with an 8-week program. Right. So for this year, if we added another 10 to 20 kids, then that's another step in the right direction. Then seeing kids come back again and having fun. And we've tried to incorporate a lot of different things: dance, art, a walk to the river. And then the idea with that is to get kids to just switch off. Yeah. And I know these kids for the most part are not carrying cell phones, but I'm sure most of them have a smartphone.
Could be, yeah.
To hand. And,
very common today.
When they're at home. And so
getting them outside, getting them away from devices, games.
Yeah.
No, that's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
So Peak Ambition, how did you arrive at that name?
Right. So in my early dabblings with summer camps, the original name was "Have a Rooking Good Time."
I love that phrase.
Yeah. Well, that's based on a rugby term. It's a real key part of the game, right? Yeah. And he looks, to the person who doesn't really understand rugby, it looks a real melee of players and bodies and all. But there is an art to it. So that was the original name. And then because we wanted to be seen as more of a multi-sport kind of coaching business, the idea of Peak Ambition started to resonate bit by bit. For sure. Obviously, Peak based on Bandy Peak. I know there's a lot of businesses that are using that kind of idea, which makes sense. Selling the location. Yes. And then ambition. Yeah, we want kids to come along, and you know what? If they've got ambition, you want to reach for the stars, go for it, because there's people within the Peak Ambition organization, you may not see them front and center, but they have reached for the stars and they've achieved. Yes. And that their story is a real story, and they can share that story. And they're passing it down. Yeah. So it's beautiful. Sport for me has given me everything. It's given me peace of mind. It's given me fitness, well-being. My body's a bit beaten up now because I've maybe gone at things a little bit too hard. Now I got to stop you there, because one of the first times I met you, so I think not a few months ago, maybe, we were at the chamber meeting together. Yeah. And you told me how old you are. Yeah. I'm like, come on. You're not. Well, that's very, very, very kind. I'll get you that beer that we promised later. So, all right. For 2025 Pro. So one of the things that we'll be using with the RMCA Spring Sports this year, with the multi-sport sessions that myself and John Morris are going to be running. I'm going to be adding rugby. John's going to be looking at baseball, t-ball. Then we're getting into mountain biking, and then there's probably going to be either ball hockey or racket sports. So it'd be an 8-week program, and we're going to be introducing tag rugby to the kids. Oh, right on. And to be quite honest with you, parents are there as well. The parents can join in. And basically, tag rugby, like tag football, a tackle is pulling the tag off their belt. Right. That denotes a tackle, stops the game for that short few seconds, whilst the tackle can be acted out, and then the game will flow again from there. Right, so very, very safe. Very safe. Rugby's part of our program with the multi-sport. It is just based around that same idea. It's the very, very basics. And all we're trying to do with any sport that we introduce is we're just trying to give kids the idea of what that sport could look like. And if they want to go
expose them to it.
Yeah, and take it further on. And when they get to high school or wherever, or a club, and if they're comfortable within the knowledge that they've already been part of a group where they've been encouraged to talk and communicate, work together, and not be fearful of, well, I don't know what that is. And because I don't know, I'm anxious. I don't want to let people down. So again, one of the biggest things that I've shared with my boys is don't be afraid to fail.
Right.
Don't be afraid to fail. And that's again, one of the key things. You get involved.
Learn by doing.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like I say again, our camps are, it's about taking part, learning the basics, and being in a very safe environment. So
what role has family played in supporting you in the business? I know it's a bit of a family business. Your sons are involved in it already.
Yep. Yeah, so family, my wife is very understanding, first and foremost. Her name's Margaret, by the way, so I should say hi to Margaret.
Hello, Margaret.
She'll be picking through this in great detail. Well, you shouldn't have done that, and you shouldn't have said that. But no, she's been a rock, to be honest. She's put up with me and running around, and so very, very supportive. I think she's seen the real potential now, and having had people with a real solid background behind them, like Richard Smith, when somebody like that buys into your idea, I think it gave her extra confidence that, okay, if you're going to take this beyond just a, volunteer role, which is what I've always been a part of, that volunteer coaching, coach with clubs and provincial teams and things. She said, okay, let's see how far it can go. And then the two boys, Connor and Cameron. So Connor's my eldest. He's 29 now, as I say, working for Rugby Canada. He's living his dream at the moment. He actually goes to Fiji in May to work with the men's under-20s, the national side there. So he'll be on hand, preparing the guys, making sure their nutrition's right, making sure their load is managed and stuff. So again, he's passing on, real experience. And I think that's a good idea. Maybe don't consider that. And then we're hoping to have him home part of August, where he'll be actively taking part in the teenager camp.
Fantastic.
As well. So again, he's going to be the new business partner going forward. And then Cameron, with what he's doing at the moment, his input really, again, is pretty much the same as his brother. He's been active in coming out and helping volunteer with me when we've gone up to Bandit Peak School, doing offering coaching sessions there on a volunteer basis. He's also worked with me in Redwood Meadows, facilitating spring sports. They're very supportive and have all played their part, and probably, sick of me nagging at them to come and help Dad. But they do bring some good experience for young people. So.
Excellent. I look forward to meeting your boys.
Thank you very much. We're very proud of them.
So you've had quite a storied time here in Bragg Creek, starting your business. What tips would you have for somebody that was looking to start a business in Bragg Creek?
I listened to Rich Kilbride's interview, and he was very confident and gung-ho in that sense. I think for me, my journey with business has been checkered, really. I've found at times very good. This period is generally good. I'm in a nice period where it's a nice thing to facilitate. Now, the summer camps is fun.
Yeah,
I'm getting to walk around in shorts and a t-shirt all day.
Outside in the beautiful outdoors.
Yeah, and they see the smile on the kids' faces and things. So that's fun. I listen to a podcast. It's the High Performance Podcast, and again, they ask a similar question of people who've been in that high performance arena, whether it be business, sport, whatever it may be, military, and it goes on. I think you got to back yourself. You got to have a bit of confidence that you're going to go through some turbulent times. But I would say if you're really going to go for something that's going to affect your family, you got to make sure you got your ducks in a row in terms of cash flow. Because on the outside, starting a business, working for yourself, and not having a boss, not working for
very romantic.
Yeah, not working for the man. The reality is you're always going to be working for the man. There's always somebody who's going to be chasing you down for GST, your taxes, making sure you don't fall behind with that. So I would definitely say, yes, go for it, but make sure you do your due diligence responsibly. Yeah, and get everything in place so that you're not going to create an issue if you have a family, and it's not going to create tensions in the home, because financial issues are probably the worst issues you can ever have.
They're marriage killers.
They are, aren't they? They are. Yeah. So I would always say, yes, back yourself, but do your due diligence. Due diligence.
Words to live by. What's your proudest moment so far with Peak Ambition?
Okay. Maybe I'll share this with you.
Sure. Please.
Okay. So I've had two real kudos moments. One was one of the biggest sporting brands in the UK were looking to work with us.
Wow.
And we got one tour off the ground. This school came over from Stratford upon Avon, which was the birth of William Shakespeare. So this school came over, and it was all organised by the England Travel. So that's the biggest tour company in the UK. So we facilitated, we played our part in there. We had them for 2 days, and we looked after them well for 2 days. So I'm hoping that something else will come from that. I think all the boys and the coaches went home very happy, having, again, been spoilt in Bragg Creek, going swimming in the river, and it goes on. And then earlier on this year, and I have been asked not to share this, but I think it is a proud moment. But I had the team manager of the men's national side reach out to me about the possibility of bringing the guys into Bragg Creek for some
oh my goodness,
an adventure experience whilst they're
that would be fantastic.
Whilst they're in. The manager was hoping when the players start to come together for the summer internationals they've got planned that they're coming over to Alberta, and he would like to create a true Canadian experience to remind them of their birthright and who they are. And he said, looking at what you've offered, the touring sites previously, your kind of theme fits what I've got in mind. So he said, I have to go back to the coaching leadership and sell the idea to them. But he said, I'm hoping that at some point in time, we can actually start using you and coming out to Bragg Creek. So that's what I'm really hoping for.
Adrian, you're becoming an ambassador.
Well, I've been, I go back to the starting of the interview. I joined the chamber because I do feel that we offer a lot to the community, and we want, I don't know, service maybe?
Yes.
I don't know where that comes from. And maybe service is something that was maybe fits my
absolutely
agenda. I don't know. So we joined the chamber just to share some of the things that we had done.
Fantastic.
I think enough people knew of it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, we appreciate your membership for sure. It's a pleasure to have on board.
Thank you.
You bet. So I got some personal questions for you. So just shoot off whatever comes to mind first. What's your favorite business in Bragg Creek?
I'm very fortunate, really, that this probably sounds very diplomatic, but I think all the businesses have a unique place in our heart because we've been in Bragg Creek 17 years. So we've watched Handlebar, for instance, to 6-7 years ago, maybe. Again, that adds another layer to Bragg Creek, Mabel and Marie's, the bakery. I remember the bakery when it was something completely different. The people, I think it's the people that I have to give a shout out to who have been very instrumental in just me, my family. So Ben and Emma from Rockies, I'd like to say that we've become good friends. The hardware store has a very special place in my heart because when my father-in-law did come out to Bragg Creek and he saw what we'd moved to, having not being a fan of his son-in-law encouraging his wife and grandkids to move to Canada, he actually said, if you leave Bragg Creek, he says, you must be mad. Yeah. And then when I took him to the hardware store, it was just an Aladdin's cave. And it was like, it's like that old shop that we probably had in every community in the UK before the franchises moved in. Yeah. So just for that alone.
Back in time for him.
Yeah, what my father-in-law found from that shop, he just loved it. And then, Rose from the Powderhorn, with what we've done with the mall, she quite often has bought us a round of drinks when we've gone in, and that acknowledgement has been very kind, very much appreciated. So
fantastic, right on. So going back to when you were a wee boy, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Again, it was always going to be a policeman.
Is that right?
Policeman, fireman,
a bobby.
Yeah. Or maybe a soldier. Those were the kind, and again, I go back to that word service.
What did your parents want you to be?
I was a draftsman when I first left school, and my dad once was very keen on me continuing that career. The problem was at the time, I was a young 16-year-old. All my friends were in apprenticeships with a big group of other apprentices, and they were having a lot of fun. I was working in a drawing office on my own. Yeah, for the most part.
16-year-old.
And it was like, it was like watching paint dry. And I was actually good at it. As a 17-year-old, I was drawing up like additions, or we call them extensions in the UK. Sure. That was a very entry-level start of, I suppose, architecture in a way. Very, very basic, in its very basic form. So I worked in a structural engineer's office. So the intention long-term would would have been for me to have been a structural engineer. I never really went down that route, in a major way, but I got into sport, activity.
And you found your passion.
Yeah. So being active has been my go-to for all of my life, really.
That's fantastic. What was your favorite job? Or maybe this is it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
exactly. I was, again, I was, as a tradesperson, I was a tiling contractor. So I can honestly say we talk about business and the stresses of business. When there was no stress there, no chasing money and things like that, and everything was good, cash flow, I can honestly say I'd go and do jobs and I'd come away with a great deal of satisfaction, feeling like you're always creating something.
It is nice.
But going back to your comments, this would be my favourite period, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
So where can people find you online?
Okay, so we have an Instagram account, Peak Ambition. There is a Facebook account as well. I've now realised I have a huge following within the British rugby community.
There you
because
go.
we keep cropping up. Obviously, all the posts get shared from Instagram to Facebook. And so obviously all the local clubs from the region we're from, the Midlands, are very interested in, okay, Peak Ambition, what's this all about? So, and then we have a website, which again is peakambition.ca.
All right.
So
Plug time. So is there anything you would like the audience to know? Anything coming up that you'd like to promote?
Yeah, I think, again, we're settling in for 2 months of camps, July and August.
And space still available?
Yeah, space is still available. We're maximising the maximum number per week is 25, and that gives us the right ratio for the coaches, kids, and then especially when we go down to the river and what have you, we can make sure that everything is 110% safe in every which way. So the key promotional thing really would be the teenager camp, 18th of August till the 22nd of August. So we have 2 parts to it, really. First 3 days will be at the BCCA, where teenagers will be taken through some ideas around appropriate conditioning for sport, preparation for sport, getting into some sporting action themselves as well. Again, just encouraging participation, taking part. And then after those 3 days, we're going to Curtisfield, Redwood Meadows. So that'll be on the Thursday, where we've got a full multi-sport day on the field, where it will be strength and conditioning ideas, again, all based around preparation for sport, how to, again, cool down, and again, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts, encouraging kids who probably haven't had a chance to getting introduced to sport in a formal way, team sport. It's not just an elite thing. We're not looking for that, but there are elite coaches, and that's what I'm at pains to share with everybody who may listen to this. And then there'll be Emily Carter, the psychologist, who will be sharing. She'll be delivering a presentation to the teens, only for an hour, just again, strategies for life.
No, that's good. Ideas
around sports, again, taking part, the activation process pre-sport, the warm down or the cool down. And then on the following day, we'll be going out with Moritz from Outbound Elements / Handlebar. And he'll be putting the boys and girls who choose to attend through some adventure activities.
Excellent.
So that's the key plug, really. So
super. So with the week of August 18 to 22.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And now I have started putting out social media posts, and the key to it is because I'm struggling how I can package it in a poster, because there's 2 parts. So I am putting out the email address, which is peakambition@gmail.com. The intention is anybody who's interested, parents, just reach out. I can go through a bit more detail. Again, we're looking for kids who are just trying to get started, and if they want to listen, if they're at a more elevated level and they want to listen to some of the messaging from these guys and girls with real good experience, we'll accommodate that as well. And then we're looking at capping that at around 30 camp attendees.
Awesome.
So,
well, thank you very much, Adrian, for coming on the podcast.
It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a great story, and I wish you well. I think you've become a real asset to the community with what you built with Peak Ambition.
That's very kind.
And for all our listeners, they've got young people. Take advantage.
Thank you very much.
The services you're offering here, you're a real asset. Thank you, Adrian, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.